doesn't matter what you wanted 5 minutes ago. It doesn't matter what made you happy. And that's why I bring it up. It doesn't matter what made you happy a year ago. If it doesn't work anymore, give yourself permission to acknowledge that what used to work may not work anymore. Because guess what? You're evolving, whether you want to or not. You are growing and expanding, and you are literally on a cellular level not the same person you were before.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another epic episode of High Vibin It. It's your homegirls, Kelsey Aida, transformation facilitator and author, and Lindsay Robinson,
Hypnotherapist extraordinaire,
world-renowned hypnotherapist. I wasn't sure if I should introduce you or if you were going to introduce
Okay,
you.
so real quick, I was listening back to episodes because we have an amazing clip episode coming up, highlights of the past episodes. And I remember we used to introduce each other, and then we used to take turns introducing ourselves. It's so cute. We should really start to go back to that. We were adorable.
We're really not anymore. What are you trying to say?
We are adorable, but like in a year when I listen back to this episode, I'm gonna be like, oh, but I miss that. It was so cute. I'm Kelsey and I'm Lindsay. And it was just really cute. Anyway, we should do that again. But yes, we are here ready to rock and roll. And we have a very, very, very fun episode for you guys today. Kels, tell them what it is.
Yeah. So today we're talking about something that I can pretty confidently say universally, pretty much everyone is striving for, wanting to create more of, and that is happiness. So we thought it would be great to just dedicate a whole episode to practices and habits and ways to cultivate more happiness on a daily, weekly, monthly, annually level. And it's going to be fun and joyous. I think for us to be happy, recording the happiness episode is really aligned. So it's going to be a good one.
And I will mention at the time of this recording, it is one day after the end of retrograde, which is not going to really mean much by the time it airs, but I feel it. And so I think that lighter. Could be, yes, it could be like contributing to these already like sparkly feelings, because we don't always, as much as we want to, we don't always show up super sparkly. We got stuff, right? Like everybody else. But today's a good day. I'm happy to get into this happiness piece. Let's do it.
Yeah. I'm not having a Monday meltdown today. Today's a great day.
Monday meltdown. Ooh, you are just all about alliteration today.
Every once in a while, you just got to have a meltdown on a Monday. You know, yeah. I don't know. That just happens to me sometimes. But
better than a Friday.
True. So today we are talking about happiness habits. And before we started recording, we were like, well, you know, happiness is such a broad topic. Like, what specifically do we want to dive into? And I'm always just writing little tidbits in my notes, whether I want to turn it into a book or a course or just an idea to share on Instagram. So I had this one tidbit that I wrote a long time ago that says, here's what I've learned about happiness so far. And then I dove into like the 5 top things that I feel like contribute the most to, you know, the well-being of your mood, your overall happiness, and capability to let in more joy. So I thought that this getting tongue-tied. Words are hard today. I don't know why. I thought that this would be a good starting point. So we'll just go through the 5 points here.
And real quick disclaimer, we're not talking about quick fix or, you know, temporary highs or like immediate satisfaction. We're talking about true, deep embodiment of happy, like true well-being and happiness, and being able to bring yourself back into that. So just want to put it out there.
Yeah, how to create a happy life in a really holistic and sustainable way.
Yeah.
And to have a happy life, also, I think it's important to mention, you don't need to feel happy every single moment of every single day, right? To expect this of yourself is to set yourself up for failure because, one, it's impossible. We live in a world of duality and contrast, and that's what we signed up for. And 2, like, it's not very self-loving to expect yourself to be happy all the time. And then when you're not happy, you're going to be hard on yourself. You're going to be judging yourself, and that's going to take you away from happiness anyway. So is it even genuine at that point? And then we get into the toxic positivity realm, which we are not talking about.
Right.
So with all those disclaimers being said, we want you guys to build a really happy, resilient life from the inside out. And these are just some of the ways that Lindsay and I have found to be super helpful so far in our daily lives and in our lives working with clients as coaches and just being a hypnotherapist and an inspirational author and all that. This is what we have found to be very helpful so far. And, in 10 years, we might have to record another episode and be like, you guys, we also found these ways that are also very helpful. So with all that being said, are we ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first thing that we have learned about happiness so far that really, really helps is to understand that happiness is a choice. Yes, the naysayers out there are going to argue with me and say, well, I don't always choose how I feel. I can't just choose to be happy and be happy all the time. I'm not talking about in the micro. I'm talking about in the macro as a choice for your life. It all starts with choosing happiness, choosing to feel more joy, choosing to change your mind in ways that are going to help you get there, choosing to let go of the things that are no longer serving you, that are keeping you from feeling happier. It's all starts with choice. And this is a choice that you're probably going to have to make over and over again. In the same way that long-lasting marriages, couples choose to love each other, choose to be with each other over and over again. It's like you're choosing happiness again and again and again. It's like an extended, never-ending meditation. Instead of coming back to the breath every time you notice you're distracted, you're coming back to the choice of happiness every time you notice that your life is derailing from where you would like it to be.
I think there's a choice in everything. So Kelsey and I are never going to, invite you to try something or do something that we don't do and that we don't understand. Is completely difficult. I have days where I don't really want to be happy. And it's not because I love feeling sad. It's because it's needed at some times and you need to feel through it. But it's still a choice. I could ignore it. I could bypass it. I could distract myself. I could do all kinds of things to not feel the sadness, but I choose to. And that is also very, very important. So when we say choose happiness, it's not because we think it's like that easy. It's because you can. It's because you can. And it's supposed to be hard sometimes. And that's, we say this a lot, but this is why we're human. This is why we came here. When you can understand that there's two sides of the coin, both of them are a choice. Some days I choose to process my anger, my frustration, my impatience, my sadness. Some days I choose, okay, well, I'm done with that. I think I've done everything I can do with that. So now I'm going to invite joy into my life. And it really can just be like, what do I want to do right now? What do I want to do? And just do it. And that is a form of choosing to be happy. I'm trying to teach my 6-year-old this at this moment. So I think that's why it's such a good topic right now. But yeah, it's hard. It is hard. It doesn't always feel like you have a choice. And when you feel like you can't choose happiness, there's a good chance that it's probably because you need to work through some stuff that isn't resolved or that needs to have attention on it just for a little bit. And then maybe it will be easier to choose happiness when you feel like all that stuff is kind of, you know what I mean? Like dulled a little bit. We're going to soften the edges and then it might be easier to choose that.
I like that example that you gave of choosing to feel sad or choosing to process anger, choosing whatever you find present in that moment. Because when I talk about choosing happiness, yes, it can be in smaller moments like, oh, right now I'm in a place of non-resistance. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to choose to think a happy thought, or I'm going to choose to enjoy this moment. But really, I'm talking about on the more macro level, like for my life, I'm choosing well-being. For my life, I'm choosing happiness. And there's always space for you to choose however you want to feel in any moment. And we're not saying that you shouldn't choose emotions that aren't happiness, which we will get to in another part of what I've learned works for creating a happy life. Because if you're trying to deny, suppress, disown, reject feelings that don't look like happiness, that's actually counterproductive to creating a happy life, because authenticity, healing, growth, expansion are ultimately what are always going to lead you back to your well-being, to a stable mood, to feeling better. So I think that's a beautiful segue into the next bullet point of what we've learned about happiness so far, which is that healing helps and distress will hold you hostage. Meaning, if you are in distress, emotionally, physically, whatever, if there's healing that needs to be had and you're going straight for happiness without going through the healing, you are going into the realm of what like spiritual teachers would call toxic positivity, right? You're
Or
bulldozing how you
bypassing.
actually
Yeah.
feel. You're bypassing what you actually feel. And I've found that allowing all feelings to be heard, to be valid, to be processed, to be expressed is actually the fastest way to keep coming back to happiness and to keep choosing happiness. Because if I'm sad
Yeah.
and I allow myself to cry it out, or I'm angry, I allow myself to journal about it. If I'm, feeling jealous, I allow myself to just make that okay to feel like that sometimes. I can heal that, move through it, and come back to a space of well being, wholeness, happiness. It's when you don't address the sadness or the anger or whatever hurt that you're experiencing and you try to just put a happy face over it, that's when you're going to rot from the inside out.
Ooh, evocative imagery.
Will literally poison yourself with your own emotions if you don't make it
Yeah.
okay to feel how you feel. And I think a good practice in going for more happiness is anytime I notice I'm feeling something that doesn't look like happiness, that's my invitation to be with myself, to process, to heal, to work through it, to move through it. And on the other side, there's going to be relief. And when you can get to a space of relief, then you can come back to a place of happiness in a
Okay.
genuine, authentic, holistic way.
Yeah. And I think it's important to talk about why we do that. Why don't we just feel our feelings? Why is it so damn difficult? And I think it really comes down to fear. We're afraid of the emotion because of what we make it mean, because of what we think will happen if we feel it. And maybe we can't get out of it. Maybe it means I'm not worthy. Maybe it means I'm an idiot or whatever you want to say, whatever your voice tells you. But when you can let yourself not be afraid of it anymore, it kind of, I don't want to put it in the way of like losing its power, but it does give you more power to get the value from it and learn more about yourself and have more compassion for yourself and what you're going through. Because again, nothing comes up by accident. You don't feel the way you feel for no reason. And when you can start to listen with compassion instead of ignoring it with fear, like your world will change. Everything changes. You're able to see so much more and understand so much more about yourself, and that is the true path to happiness. I say this a lot, but I don't think you can ever know yourself and not love yourself. No one can ever know themselves and not love themselves. And when you can love yourself, gosh, happiness, hello, opening the door to all sorts of good things when you're able to do that. So, we all have different reasons for trying for not feeling our feelings or not wanting to do that. But I think if you really examine it, for a lot of people, it is fear. I don't want it to mean this about me. I don't want to feel it. What if I get stuck? Those kinds of things that we've talked about before. Um, anyway, hold compassion for yourself for not wanting to feel it and then do it anyway. I
I
think,
think, yeah, I think you're right. I think it is fear. And I also think it's lack of education. Like
yeah,
nobody ever taught us how to be
right.
with our feelings. Very few people have modeled to us growing up what a healthy relationship with your emotional body looks like.
And
Usually,
even the flip side, don't cry. Don't be sad.
right, you're
Get
fine.
over
It's
it.
okay.
Think
Even
positive.
people with good intentions
Yeah.
have talked you out of feeling your feelings
Yep.
plenty of times. So then you just get trained to ignore them, suppress them, deny them, suck it up, move on already before maybe you're ready to move on, you know? And it's like not to say anything bad about our parents or our caretakers, but they didn't get education either. So
Yeah.
it's just been passed down the line of like, dysfunction and not having an intimate, healthy relationship with your emotional body. So, really, it can start with you. And if it
Mm-hmm.
starts with you, then it can be passed on to your kids too in a healthy, sustainable way of like, okay, here's how we can feel our feelings without hurting ourselves, without hurting anyone else, so as to keep coming back to a regulated state, to a state of wholeness, well being. And then you have the space for more long term happiness. So,
Yeah. And spoiler, it's not going anywhere. Just because you don't feel it today doesn't mean it's evaporated. Just because you shove it down so far that you don't feel it or consciously acknowledge it anymore doesn't mean it's gone. It's going to come back. It's probably going to get louder because there is a message that needs to be heard. So that's kind of like, I don't know. What do you say? The non-sexy part?
Totally.
It's just like, it ain't going anywhere. So, empower yourself. We're doing it too. It's hard. It's not something that's easy, but you can.
It gets
and
easier,
you should.
honestly.
It does get easier. Yeah.
It does get easier with practice. And if you're like, okay, Lindsay and Kelsey, you guys always tell me to feel my feelings, but you don't tell me how, like, how do I actually do it? I have so many resources for this. Like, I literally think I have a meditation for this on my website. I know there's a lesson on it inside of Radical Self-Love where I walk you through the process step by step. This is basically what I do with my clients. Like, there's so many resources for like how to feel your feelings in a healthy way. So if you're like, I don't get it, I don't know, like, go to one of our websites. There are resources for you.
Or and I would even say, yes, absolutely, especially if it's something that you've been practicing shoving down for a very, very long time. But I would even say, like, how, your body knows how to feel stuff. Your mind knows how to feel stuff. It's something that you already have. You probably just don't want to. And so you feel like there's like a technique for it, or, just feel it. Just feel it. You just don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's just, you just don't want to do it.
Well,
but
and
you know how to do it.
I think people get confused too, the difference between feeling their feelings and thinking their feelings. I think a lot of people who are thinking about their feelings think that when they think about their feelings, that they're actually feeling their feelings when they're not feeling their feelings.
Kelsey,
feeling your feelings and thinking your feelings are two different activities.
Tell me what feeling your feelings looks like to Kelsey. What does it look like?
Okay, so feeling my feelings, let's give the example of anger. If I'm angry, this could feel like my body's heating up, my heart is closing, I have an urge to punch somebody in the face. I'm sitting here getting warm and I'm just connecting to those sensations of anger and I'm watching them move through my body. I'm not necessarily connecting to the thoughts associated with the anger, the story that triggered the anger. I'm not judging myself for being in anger. I'm literally just holding space for the energy of anger to be present in my visceral body. And then I'm noticing how it feels, noticing how it moves, breathing through the experience. And pretty soon it gets less and less.
Yeah.
You find relief.
I love that. And I love that you use the body, because that's the best way to get out of the head is, where is this in my body? I do this with clients all the time. Where do you feel this in your body? What color is it? What texture is it? Is it staticky? Is it electric? Is it water, like flowy? What is it? And if you can't come up with one of those, you can come up with something. So where is it in your body is such a huge way to anchor back into the body, because that's where we feel. That's where we feel everything. Butterflies in the stomach, stress in the shoulders, whatever it is, that's where you feel it. I love that distinction, thinking your feelings versus feeling. If you want to drop into the body, where do I feel this in my body? And you can use that for good stuff too. Where does happiness live? Where does that live?
And breathe deeply while you do this observational exercise of processing.
Don't forget to breathe.
That's like one of the most important parts, to just help it flow freely. Release judgment, breathe deeply, and just watch what's happening as you're feeling what you're feeling.
Let it happen, right? Like, let it happen. It's not going to always be pretty, but it will always be helpful.
Word. That sounded nice. Very poetic. I like it.
Thanks.
Moving on to the third thing. So far we've talked about how happiness is a choice. It's something you can choose over and over again. We've also talked about how healing helps and distress can be holding you back. So it's important to process your feelings so you can come back to a space of happiness. And now number 3 is the reminder that happiness is a practice and not a destination. Don't you just love it when people say that? I freaking hate when people say that. I think it's so annoying, but now I'm just being one of those annoying people who's saying it because it's true.
It's true. Yeah. It's the same way of being like, when you say happiness is a choice, like, you can't choose your circumstance, but you can choose your reaction. You're like, duh, what? Don't
well, I would say that. You can choose, your response.
Your response.
Your reaction is like, can't really choose your reaction. You're just going to react naturally. But your response,
you can choose your response. You can choose your attitude towards the situation. What you have control over is your demeanor. And I think that's what we mean when we say it's a choice. Love the cliches. They're there for a reason.
Keep them coming. It's a practice, not a destination. Yeah. It's a practice of, I feel like it's really a practice of like adding things to your life that bring joy and happiness and subtracting what doesn't work for you. And just like, even if that is the most simple exercise of going through your day or your calendar and being like, this is something that brings me joy. This is something that sucks the life out of me. And just noticing those distinctions and taking control of your life in an empowered way and being like, okay, how can I add more of this and subtract some of that and put more of this into my schedule and take away some interactions with that person who just makes me crazy every time, or whatever it is, you know, like you have choice here, but you don't have the choice until you have the realization of what's working for you and what's not. So I feel like the practice is what's working for me, what's not, what brings me happiness, what keeps me from happiness, and how can I use the equation of adding happiness, subtracting unhappiness to create more happiness.
And there's been this theme lately around my life, and Kelsey, you're the one that kicked it off. Actually, Dan the man kicked it off.
Dan the man,
all-star. When he said, "What do you want?" and made the distinction that it may not be what you thought you wanted. It may not be what you used to want. It may not be the same thing that you wanted a year ago, a month ago, whatever. And me and Kelsey did this exercise, and Kelsey had this like, oh my God, I don't want what I thought I wanted. And since that day, so many themes around that have been into my attention have been around like, doesn't matter what you wanted 5 minutes ago. It doesn't matter what made you happy. And that's why I bring it up. It doesn't matter what made you happy a year ago. If it doesn't work anymore, give yourself permission to acknowledge that what used to work may not work anymore. Because guess what? You're evolving, whether you want to or not. You are growing and expanding, and you are literally on a cellular level not the same person you were before. So, and I mean, like, I don't know what the rate of regeneration is. I think it's like 7 years. You're a completely a completely new person, not DNA wise, cellular wise. And so it's okay that what used to make you happy doesn't. Maybe there's some tweaks that, you know, you can make that it can make you happy again, and that you can come to that place of joy again. But if it's not fixable, if it's not workable to your satisfaction, let it be okay. Let it be okay.
Oh, I love this. Also, I was scrolling through to see like what episode this was with Dan. That was really good. It was episode 162. It's called Stop Resisting Your Abundant Nature with Daniel Mangena. And it was really funny. So it will bring happiness to your day. He is hilarious. But yeah, in that episode, I forget exactly how he phrased it. So you'll have to go back and listen. But it was something like, if you clear and erase like all the old versions of you and everything you thought you wanted, like starting from this point in reality, like what do you want from a clear slate? And I was just
I'm not sure, but I think that might have been in the Patreon section.
It might have been. So if you're not on the Patreon,
better go Patreon it.
You're missing out. The Patreon is where we put all the extended versions of the episodes, and there's always nuggets that happen off air. So
we give bonuses and stuff. Yeah.
So, but 162, that was the one that you were referring to.
Yep.
Yeah. And
check in with yourself. It's just a constant state of checking in, isn't it? Like, we're never going to not check in with ourselves. We always do. Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? What do I want right now? And you got to do the same thing with your well-being.
Yep.
What makes me happy?
It's a practice, folks. It's a practice. Because even if you get there, quote unquote, wherever the perfect life is for you, where you're going to feel the most happy, whatever your vision is, like, that ain't gonna last. It's gonna change. You're gonna want new things. You're gonna want to up level. So you can't just count on the future to be perfect. And if you like keep waiting for things to line up in a certain way for you to be happy, you're always going to be a slave to your circumstances. And you're not actually empowered in your choice to feel good now.
Yeah.
And like now is your only real opportunity for anything, for change, for creation, for embodiment. Like, it's just now. And then now is another now. And then there's another now. And it's just the infinite now. Right.
I feel like we should plug the power of now.
Right. So if you're not doing it now, like, when are you going to do it? I understand if you're going through something hard or, if you're processing, that's fine. You probably will feel happy later. But like, if you have no reason to not feel happy now and you want to, but you're not allowing yourself to now, like what makes you think you're going to allow yourself to feel happy later if you're not doing it now? That's like saying, oh, when I'm rich, I'm going to donate 10% of my income. But now you're not doing it. So like, what makes you think you're going to do it then? It's a percentage.
10% is still 10%. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, if you're not doing it now, you're probably not going to do it then. So now's your best shot. If it's available to you, do it.
Which it is.
Yeah. If it's available to you and if you want that, then go for it in the now. Don't keep putting it off, which leads us beautifully to my next one.
Okay. I don't remember how long ago it was, but there was this ad campaign that was like YNNW. Do you remember this? YNNW, mate. It's like, if not now, when? INN, if not now, when? Yes. INNW. And there was this thing, like, I don't know why, but it was just like WWJD, like what would Jesus do? But it was, if not now, when? And it's a great question to ask. If you can't do it now, when do you think you're going to be able to do it? If you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it? And I used to do this with relaxation. Like, I can relax when, I'll let myself, chill out when. And I'm just like, it never came. The destination never comes.
Right.
There's never a moment where you're like, okay, green light, I can relax. Green light, I can be happy. No, you got to do it. You got to do it now. And you get to. You deserve to. You are worthy of it. Do it.
Yeah. I love this perspective and mentality of if not now, when. Obviously, I was just preaching on it for my soapbox for however long. But at the same time, my relationship with it is a little bit tricky because like in some instances it's empowering. Like right now to me, like, okay, I'm going to choose happiness now because I can. Now is the only time that's real. Let's do it. But in other circumstances where I'm like trying to get things done or trying to hit goals, and if I tell myself if I don't do it now, then it's never going to happen, then I just get stressed. So with that nuance, use it to your advantage. Don't use it against yourself. If it feels good, go with it. If it doesn't, throw it in the trash. But yeah, for me, to happiness, it depends on the circumstance with that phrase, but I do like it generally.
But like,
speaking.
Okay, one last thing. I want to get to your last piece, but
there's two more actually.
Two more. Okay. If we knew on a deep, deep soul level, on all levels of our being, that being happy and moving toward joy and moving towards the thing that feels good would get us everything we've ever wanted. If you knew that as an absolute truth, this would be a lot easier. The only reason we can't, and that's the law of attraction. That is literally the law of attraction. Choose the better feeling thought, find yourself in joy, be there, know that it's coming and it's going to come. But the thing that makes it so hard is because it's not something that it feels too good to be true for most of us. And so that's where the practice comes in, because we knew this, kids know this, people that are very closely connected with spirit, like children and, highly whatever vibrational beings, soul level, we know this. It's just on a human level, we have all this 3D crap to deal with, the matrix, some would call it. And it's hard, but it's not impossible. And it's the law.
It's the law, people.
It's the law. Just be happy because it's the law. Gosh, what a cool law.
Cool law. Oh, that was like the most bossy but awesome way to put it.
I'm bossum.
Love it. Okay, so the next happiness habit / something I've learned about happiness so far is that it is a lot easier when you give yourself unconditional, this is the key here, unconditional permission to letting it in. So this is where we get into the resistance releasing, the resistance troubleshooting aspect of what you're trying to manifest. So with anything, if you say or think or feel that you want something, but a part of you doesn't want it or thinks it would be bad to have it, it ain't going to happen, or at least it's not going to happen as quickly and as gracefully as you would like it to. So same thing with happiness. If your goal is to feel better and be happy, but you're not giving yourself permission, you have conditions in the way, which sound like I'll be happy when, I'll let myself feel happy when I lose 20 pounds. I'll let myself be happy when I meet my significant other, love of my life. I'll let myself be happy when I manifest millions of dollars. If that's the way you're living your life, conditionally, happiness is always going to be out there, and it's never going to be a choice in the now, like how we were talking about before. So this number 4 key piece here is that it's a lot easier to be happy when you give yourself unconditional permission to let happiness in. So an exercise you guys can do is take out a piece of paper and write down all the conditions that you have in the way of your happiness. So I'll be happy when, I'll let myself be happy when, I'll feel better when, blah, blah, blah. Write those all down. This. And then you're just going to go through and be like, nope, and cross them off one by one, doing the witchery, doing the magic. And in doing that, you will just be like, I'm not living my life conditionally anymore. And then next to those phrases or on another piece of paper, you can write something along the lines, phrase it in a way that feels good to you, but I can feel happy now, or I choose happiness now. I was just going to
say that. I was just going to say, I'm going to take it a step further, because if I'm doing this, I may cross it out, but next to it, I'm going to say, nope, I can be happy now. I can be happy now. I can be happy now. It meaning that happiness is available to you now. And maybe that's how you word it. Nope, happiness is available to me now. Reminding your subconscious and your whole being that you are choosing one way or the other. Ooh, yes. I love this, Kels.
Yeah. You have to delete the old program and then reinstall the new program. Yeah. This is something I do with a lot of my clients. And actually, the first time I came up with the exercise was in a way that it applied to self-love. And in my radical self-love course, I had the women go through and write down, like, I will love myself when, I'll love myself when, I'll love myself when I lose weight. I'll love myself when I hit this goal. I'll love myself when blah, blah, blah. And then just be like, screw that. That day may never come. You're going to withhold your own love from yourself just to try and motivate yourself in a backwards way to try and achieve these things. And here's the thing about withholding. We withhold our own love from ourselves. We withhold our own happiness from ourselves. We withhold feeling good from ourselves as a dysfunctional way, an attempt to try and motivate ourselves to do better, to be better, to create better, to hit a goal, whatever it is. But I promise you that you don't need that motivation if your desire, in this case, to be happier, is a genuine desire. When you have genuine desires and you're connected to those, you will be inspired to take the correct action. You don't have to motivate yourself. Yeah. If you find that you're having to motivate yourself, or you feel that you're having to motivate yourself, it might not be a genuine desire that you're going for.
I immediately have the imagery of kids. How could you ever treat a kid like that? Like, I'll give you a hug and a kiss once you finish your dinner.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you I love you until you get straight A's. Like, it sounds ridiculous, and hopefully there's no parents out there. Like, I know there's all kinds of people out there, but like, that's not a healthy, that is not, and it oftentimes has an opposite effect. What if energy is everything? What message are you sending to the universe? Oh, you don't want to be happy. Okay, cool. Got it. You're not ready for it. Got it. Yep. Check. Got it. Like, what are you sending? What would you like to send? Happiness is available to me now. And when you become a match with happiness, tell them, Kels, what happens when you become a match with happiness?
Oh, the irony. Well, when you start feeling happier, all the things that you wanted to be happy in the first place, you'll finally be a vibrational match to them, and then they will actually come. But the funny thing is, you won't be in a space of like, oh, I needed that. It's more just like cherry on top, because I'm good to go how I am, in who I am, doing what I do. But then you just get what you want on the side, and you're just like, that's so yummy.
It does sound, we know it sounds so counterintuitive to be like, feel it now, and then you'll get the thing you want. But that's the only truth, right? Is like, when you become a match with the energy of what you want will come to you. So cultivating happiness now, joy, peace, freedom, whatever it is, will bring you what you want that will be a match to that. It's just, I feel like we're just beating the same drum, but it is just the law, guys. Like,
I was waiting for you to say that again.
The most basic law of the universe.
Oh man. Okay, that's great. I feel like we covered that one. Check. Moving on to the grand finale. Hey there. We hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but if you want to listen to the whole thing, we're going to invite you over to our podcast. Either search for High Vibin It on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, or even better, if you want to watch the extended video version of this episode that's even longer than the actual podcast itself, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/highvibe. Lindsay, tell them what's awesome about the Patreon.
Patreon is where we have all of our extended episodes. As Kelsey said, we have it on video, so you can actually see the things that we're talking about. Sometimes we have visual aids, and it's nice to know what we're talking about. We also have hangouts that we do sometimes that are exclusive to Patreon people. And you can get started with all of this and bonus content and everything that we have only for the Patreon people for as little as $3. I think it's $3.33 a month. And that's it. And you guys can get all the benefits and all access to everything that we put in there. Really cool.
It's really cool, really fun, super easy to join. And you guys don't even have to do that to finish this episode. If you're like, screw it, I don't want to pay any money, I just want to hear the rest of this episode, go to our podcast, High Vibin It, search for it wherever you listen. It's totally free. Either way, enjoy the rest of the show wherever you choose to enjoy it. And we will see you guys next week because we do a new one every week. Adios.
Bye.